there's a tendency among software engineers to identify specific practices as best practices and then attempt to use those universally, resulting in a fair amount of tech debt in my experience. In fact, coming from situations where we've used something that's like generally a best practice, but we haven't bothered to stop and interrogate what we mean by generally. That is, generally means in a certain trade off environment that is maybe the most common trade off environment, but is not the universal trade off environment. And so I think a lot of technical debt doesn't come necessarily from like the use or the not use of pure functions or the use or the not use of state. It is instead the misapplication of specific structural entities to situations where they're not appropriate because we heard that they were a best practice. I think that part of the reason that large language models regurgitate some of that is that precisely the way they are trained results in a lot of outputs that effectively regurgitate a global average of what the internet said is the right thing to do. Now, a global average of what the internet said is the right thing to do is not the same as what you should do, individual developer. I think the task still falls to us to understand the trade-off environment that we are in and select the appropriate practice for our particular situation based not on whether the internet says it's a best practice, but based rather on whether its strengths line up with the most important needs that we are facing in our trade-off environment, and its weaknesses miss or are mitigated in our trade-off environment as well.